lounging, son.
Welcome back to another episode of the Comic Lounge podcast, guys. I am your host, the mighty and oh so tiny Dobot, and with me, that ever so loving blue-eyed Ryan. And today we're going to be talking about something that's really freaking dope. That Texas Blood by
Chris Condon. And
yeah, excellent team. This is apparently Condon's first comic.
First comic, yeah.
And it knocked it out of the park. I'll just go ahead and just put that out there. It knocked it out of the park. And like Jacob Phillips, like father, like son, I feel like it's found like his partner in crime going forward.
I mean, he's also doing something with Zdarsky. So
yeah, I know.
Newberry, I think is right. Newberry? No, it's not Newberry. Whatever. He's doing a book with fucking Zdarsky. I should have fucking read up on that. Anyways, but yeah, I think that they definitely have a good rapport.
Yeah.
I think that Jacob Phillips definitely you can see his dad's influence in his art.
For sure.
But he still stands out enough on his own to where you can tell the differences, right? Like you can see it. He's been coloring the Brubaker Phillips stuff since My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies, right? Like that's when he jumped on as a colorist and he colored that whole last volume of Criminal. He's done all the Reckless stuff. And I think he's a great colorist. I think that he adds a different element than we got with Elizabeth Breitweiser, who I think was the colorist on their stuff before. Could be wrong. But yeah, I thought that, this is right in line with, the Brubaker and Phillips stuff, right? Like the genre is similar enough, but also a little bit different to where like we have it next to each other at our shop. And, luckily enough, I interviewed, I think both of them via email. Before the book dropped, they had sent me a PDF of the first issue, and I really dug it. I've been waiting so that I could finish the whole arc. I've had it sitting on my shelf, and then that's why I asked you. I was like, "Do you want to read it?" Because
I was waiting it too.
I was itching to read it, dude, and it didn't disappoint. I think that I love the name. I know that it was originally a pilot for a TV show, and they turned it into a comic book. Normally, I would talk shit about that. You know what I mean? Like, Ryan normally will be like, nah, fuck that. But luckily, I read the first issue before I found that out, so I didn't have that mentality going into it. When I read it, I'm like, well, this is a really good book, really strong first comic book. And I think, they're both, they're not young, but they're younger in the industry, right? Like you said, Chris Condon, it's his first work. This is for Jacob Phillips' first illustrated. He's just been coloring before this. So I love the noir genre. I love the setting that it's in. I read Joe Bob in a certain voice.
Fuck. I always forget his name.
Hold on. I always forget his name too, but I absolutely fucking love him.
Hold on. No. It's the dad.
Sam Elliott.
Yeah, Sam Elliott. So my neighbor, my next door neighbor, not next door, but he lives across the street. He looks just like Sam Elliott.
Oh, that's awesome.
You're gonna go ahead and drive a Ford truck.
Like he speaks through the mustache, right?
Yeah.
Like the mustache, so gives him.
I tried to put. I don't always try to put voices to characters in comics. Like my brother is really good at that. He's like, yeah, I hear certain voices when I read. So I'm sure that definitely enhances the reading experience if you're actually hearing different fucking voices. But I
definitely hear voices.
Now
that's my overactive imagination.
Yeah, now I sometimes do, but not all the time. But the minute I started reading the book, Sam Elliott's voice was just in my head, and it's such a distinct voice. But it made my reading experience so much different than other books, and I think that. This is the type of book. I think Joe Bob, I haven't read past this, but I think he's going to be like the kind of character that ties in all the arcs going forward. Because the guy that we meet in here, this is it's a one and done, right? Like the characters that we meet in here for the most part, probably not going to see them again. Right. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but we get there's no punches pulled in this story. It's a violent book, not gratuitously violent, but it's a violent book. This is definitely a crime noir story, but set in.
The violence, it always pulls away right before the violent parts. Like you'll see the blood, you'll see the aftermath of the violence, but you'll never actually see like, you know, bullets, right? You never see the gun flashes. You'll never see anything like that. But you know what I mean? Like it pulls away. It does. It's like a trick in cinematography where it kind of leaves for the imagination of what happens, right?
Right.
Like kind of like what they did a lot in like the Dark Knight, right? How like for a lot of the violence that involved the Joker, they didn't actually show the Joker like really doing anything. Like when he has a guy on camera, he cuts off the camera before anything happens. Like when he cuts what's his name's mouth with the knife, they cut away before he actually does stuff, and that's like it leaves something to the imagination, and it kind of makes it doesn't make it worse, but it makes it more long lasting because
it adds to the suspense too.
Yeah,
like it adds to that that feeling of like, oh fuck, what just happened, dude? And I think that also I have like Coen Brothers vibes from this book.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
I was
100%.
I didn't feel it the first time I read the first issue, but having read it again and like, dude, I powered through this book, not because I was trying to power through it, but I just sat here and I read the first. I'm like, okay, I'll read a couple issues and then I'll read the rest of it. And like, no, like I just read all fucking 6 in one sitting, and it was such a strong first volume. And there's a murder, and the brother, who's a writer, right? Randy Terrell comes back because his brother's murdered, and like what ensues from there, and his discovery of who he thinks it is. And we find out, is he right? Is he wrong? And there's a lot of twists and turns that take place during it. And you see Chris Condon does a good job of like fleshing out the characters like in this world. From Joe Bob, who's there, but not always a major focal point, right? Like we get our moments with him, with his wife, which I love the conversation back and forth between him and his wife, where she's like, you always say well, like you never give me. And then he says it again. He does it again.
Then after she points it out, I start noticing it. That's when I start noticing it. I'm like, holy crap.
He does say it a lot. Yeah.
He does say it a lot.
It just makes these characters feel so real. Like I feel like I'm watching a show or I'm watching a movie, and it has that kind of like, not a little bit of a cinematic feel to it. And it's probably because it was written as a script, like for a pilot. So, but it didn't feel like, this just couldn't get made. So you just, I guess I'll just make it a comic. It didn't ever feel that way.
No,
like,
did not feel like that. I had no idea.
And this easily could be an HBO show.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is really well written and really well fleshed out. And I think Randy Terrell, like his descent, kind of like watching his downfall progress.
Yeah, I feel like his descent was added to the fact that the narration of anytime you see Randy, like there's a narration, there's in those little boxes, the narration was dark and poetic, and it kind of followed in line with what he was doing. Later on, you find out where that narration's from, but like, dude, when you find out where that narration's from, it's like, holy crap. Like, dude, that blew my mind. That blew my mind how, it's some really good stuff. And you're right, like it had very much, this is like Fargo but in Texas, right? It's Fargo but in Texas, and not as funny. This is like, it definitely has like a more serious undertone with this, like definitely more serious, right? The cast of characters are that well fleshed out, that enthralling, that it's like you feel like you know these people, right? Like even smaller characters, who you think are small end up to be way bigger characters, like later on, right? Like, whoa, like it's just some really great stuff. And like, the dialogue Joe Bob has with everybody, like it feels very natural. Like even dialogue Randy has, just all around, this is all around really excellently written.
And the art is just fucking Jacob. He kills it, dude.
The art kind of feels like a neo-noir western, like that doesn't rely too heavy on action sequences, but more so in the powerful, like emotional factors, like when Randy's leaving LA and having that conversation with his girlfriend or his wife or whatever, like that conversation just in one page alone, he's sitting on the bed and like, the wife is standing up and they're having this conversation. Like it's 5 panels. That's just encapsulates like, such such a relatable moment in anyone who's had a relationship, right? And he carries that on. It has the cinematic feel, like right when he finally arrives in Texas, how it's the plane, then it's baggage claim, then it's the bus, and then it's him pulling in to the town, right? It's all very cinematic and it all flows very well. It's very, for as slow as they want to portray this town, everything in the story moves fast.
Yeah.
Like you get everything you need to know. There's no filler. There's not a single moment where I felt like a panel or an issue or a conversation is filler. Everything is important, right?
Yep.
You can take away and get every scene. You take away something and it adds to the character and adds to the story and adds to Joe Bob. I hope Joe Bob is like, I want to know more about what's going on, because they cut to a clip where, not to a clip, they cut to a couple panels where it talks about how Joe Bob was a hero and he, stopped this thing. And then that's what I think that kind of weird dream flashback comes from, when he's by the fire. And I hope that going forward, we get more of that too. And it kind of like, fits into Joe Bob's story. So I hope we get like in the next volume, it's not in volume 2 yet, right?
No, volume 2 hasn't come out. I think the arc is still currently going on, I believe. Yeah, it's almost done, but like the first arc was 6 issues, so I would imagine the second one is 12. I just don't think 12 has come out. But yeah, okay. I think that what they're creating here in this world, the possibilities of where you could take this are kind of endless. Kind of in the same vein of like Criminal, right? Where Brubaker and Sean Phillips, created this cast of characters that fucking spans decades. Right? There's like a family, that the Lawless family, right? But then there's also side characters and multiple people that you could kind of go over here, do an arc on them, or go over here and then talk about this. Go to this fucking era, go to the 70s, but then the next arc you can go back to the 90s, or you can go to the 2000s. Like there's just so much you can do. And here with Joe Bob, like kind of being at like what I see from what I've read, like the tail end of his professional career as a policeman, a sheriff, but also like these side characters that we meet in here, you also could talk about them. Like, one of like not a gang lord, but he's kind of like an outlaw, right? A leader of some sort. And you could go back and talk about his backstory, right?
Yeah, and touch on that. His rise to
power. And I just think that like the way that Jacob Phillips too builds tension with his art it's awesome. Like you're constantly like not on edge, but you're like, oh fuck, like what is gonna happen next? And the way he fucking like depicts like in the diner, when Randy comes to town with that fucking lady that comes out from the back, and you can see her fucking anger and her hatred for him and his brother, and you're not serving him. Like just the powerful, like the power in that panel of her face is fucking crazy. Then there's the one-page thing, right, where it's 4 panels, but it's broken up. It's literally one image, and it's Randy dropping a bottle of alcohol, and it's shot, and then it fucking drops to the ground. Like that too is just really fucking just a standout thing, like to me in terms of.
One of my favorite ones was when he's at the bar and he orders a shot and a beer, and it's that 4 panel where it kind of like pans left to right. And I don't know, it's 4 pounds, maybe it's 5 or 6, but it's him taking the shot, and like each dude, there's like that shit was just, the narration that came with that was just absolutely phenomenal. There's the panel usage in this is just really masterful. It's like absolutely masterful. Like, when he finally goes to the Kuttner Ranch and he's just like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, and then all you just see the car coming, and then and then it's just that tension, dude. It's like it's this crazy, it's just excellent use of like scenery and emotion and just the page itself. They really just like lay it all out there on the page for you, and it's very atmospheric. That's like the best word I could use for it. Very atmospheric, like right down to the coloring, right down to the panel usage, right down to the emotions in the faces, and right down to it's literally just cinematography. It's excellent cinematography. It's fantastic, dude. And then but with a strong story and a powerful script, this is. Was this nominated for an Eisner? Because it should have been.
It wasn't nominated. I definitely think it definitely deserved to be nominated. I think that this is a very strong first effort from two like young
relative
creators.
newcomers. Yeah, relative newcomers.
It really feels like too is it's a true collaboration because there are those moments where Jacob Phillips is allowed to tell the story just through visuals, where there's no words, there's no narration, there's no dialogue, and I think that sometimes writers don't allow the artist to do that. And you can tell in certain comics when that's happening, right? Where there's just like so much fucking text on the page that it takes you out of the story, and to me it takes away from the visuals because my eyes are so tired from reading so much goddamn text on the page. And that doesn't happen here. Even though there are a couple pages where there is a lot of text, it didn't feel out of place to me. Yeah. It didn't feel like it was forced or whatever. And it was a very brief, a couple pages. But then you do have those moments in the desert, right? With Randy, or you do have that moment where he drops the fucking bottle of alcohol, or there's minimal text where he's looking down at a gun, right? Like after he did something, and just that fucking image right there of him looking down at it, and you're like, oh fuck, like what is this? What did this guy do? What is he about to do? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think that the character work is so strong to where I want more. Instantly, like 2 issues in, I'm like, fuck, I kind of want to go pick up the next few issues that come out after this. I don't know if I can wait till the second trade. I will, because I know it's only one more issue. Why am I going to like do that to myself? Read 5 parts of a 6-part story when I can just wait.
Right.
But I think that this is definitely, anybody that's a fan of Brubaker and Phillips, this is right up your alley.
Yes.
Like this is the perfect complementary title to somebody that has been reading Brubaker and Phillips for years, while not feeling like it's like a copycat or where they're trying to emulate that creative team, because that's not what we get here. We get something different than what you would get from a Brubaker Phillips collaboration.
Right.
And I can't wait to see what these guys do next, man. Like it makes me I'm just super excited. Like Jacob Phillips pairing up with Zdarsky, dude, that's
gonna be some good stuff.
Like, I just can't wait. I can't wait for that. I can't wait for more of that Texas Blood. I hope that there's an arc past this. I hope the sales dictate that, that they can do more. I think that the first few issues went to multiple printings. So they did sell out. I don't know what the numbers were. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, so I don't know like how many copies the initial print runs were. But I do know that there was more than one printing. They definitely went to second printings on at least the first 4 issues. Not sure if 5 and 6 did as well, but I think this is a definitely. I'm bordering between 9 and 10.
Easily bordering between 9 and 10. I only think that the stories are just gonna get better. Like I rarely say that about comics. I almost never say that about comics. I legitimately feel like the stories are only gonna get better because we're just gonna get more. We're just gonna get more excellent characters. Like, this is a great first run. But like I'm a firm believer that people catch their stride by the second time around. And in the I'm gonna end up picking up those 5 issues. Like, I don't even care. Like, I'm gonna get those 5 issues today. Like, because I know we have plenty. Because it's actually we and at our store we have a really strong Brubaker crime noir fan base. Like, it's actually pretty surprising. And it's and the age ranges vary, and that Texas Blood has always sold well. Like, every time we've had it, we've had multiple copies, and we either we're pulling multiple copies and we barely have any on the rack, or we have a bunch on the rack, but then they come close to selling out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that our store too, Brubaker Phillips, is always like a top seller. I mean, the fucking Reckless hardcovers.
That sold out.
They sell out first day.
Freaking flew.
And I think that because we put that Texas Blood next to, the Brubaker Phillips stuff, so I think people that are fans of that, like, they see it. This is definitely something I will be recommending. I just think it's such a great comic, dude. It is a really good comic, and it's something that I wish I would have read it sooner. I wish I didn't wait so damn long. But I mean, it's not that long, but at the same time, like, I wish I would have just been getting it monthly and reading it monthly, because I feel like that would have helped. Where, like, I talk about them building tension. Like, imagine reading it month to month and you're like, I have no idea what the fuck's going to happen next.
What's going on.
Because I couldn't put it down, right? Like, you said the same thing. So imagine having to put it down after issue 1, at issue 2.
Like, what's going to happen?
So I think that creators only get better because you start to know your creative partner, and you learn more about each other. You kind of figure stuff out. You know what I mean? And you have more faith in one another. So I think that the sky's the limit for these two. I hope the series goes for a while, dude, because I'll continue to read it. As long as they're putting this book out, this will be one of the books that I'm continuously going to.
Yeah. No, this is great. This is really fantastic stuff. This is definitely going to be one of those I would recommend. Like, I've been, like, like a lot of the crime noir. I love crime noir stuff. Like, I've been recommending left and right that people read The Good Asian. I've been recommending left and right that people read the Reckless series. I still need to read Criminal. There's still a lot of Brubaker stuff that, like, that I definitely need to read. Don't shake your head at me.
I can't help it.
There's a lot of stuff I still need to read, and, like, I'm gonna get around to it. But the thing is, just like, man, there's just so much good stuff that's out right now too. But
I know. Oh, well, I mean, we should. I'll just say it, dude. Let's just do Brubaker Phillips month. Just a month of just nothing but talking about Brubaker Phillips. Like, we'll do other stuff. Obviously, the weekly reads or whatever. There's going to be interviews that I post, but we should just only fucking do a month of Brubaker Phillips. There's that much content out there, and it's all good. It's all tens. All tens. Every single time they do a motherfucking book, it's a motherfucking 10. Yeah. Incognito, dope as fuck. Killer Be Killed, dope as fuck.
I've read Killer Be Killed.
Every volume of Criminal.
I'm like 3 volumes in of Killer Be Killed, and that shit is fucking great.
Fatale, the Fade Out. You know what I mean? Like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Just do all of it. We should just do all of it. I think that it's probably my favorite comics coming out. Every time their book drops, it's like, that's my favorite book that week, that month, or whatever. And yeah, that's all. I mean, that's all I had to say about that Texas Blood. I don't want to, like, spoil too much of it, because I think that I don't want to dive too much into the story, because that'll really take away.
It's like someone asking you, "Hey, what's Fargo about? Murder?"
Yeah, you can't really fucking say too much, because, like, you have. We say this all the time. Experience it. Just go experience that Texas Blood. It's a great fucking book. If you're a fan of Brubaker Phillips, you're gonna love it. If you're a fan of the Coen Brothers stuff, you're gonna love it. You're a fan of noir, you're gonna love it. Crime stuff, you're gonna love it. It's just a really good book. Really strong first outing from these creators, and I can't recommend it enough. So that's all I got, though.
That's all I got too. Just go pick it up. Go pick it up. And go watch Fargo.
Yeah, go watch Fargo.
Go watch Fargo.
Do yourself a favor. The movie. The show's good too. But
the show's good too. Go watch the movie first.
Where it's at.
Yeah, go watch the movie first, and then you'll get a feel for what's going on. Oh, don't you know? Hey, Marge.
Oh, hey, Marge. Yeah. Go watch Fargo. Go read that Texas Blood. And also, what you should do is follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. Follow Dylan at The Dillbot on Instagram. Dillbot is dope on Twitter. Like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. Hit the TeePublic link down below to get some merch. Throw your comments down below. Also, if you've read the book or you like Brubaker Phillips, all that stuff. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.